ideas, deal stories, and inspiration so together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He is the founder and chief executive officer at Anfield Capital Management. He has an amazing background of over 25 years of investment experience. Prior to founding Anfield Capital, which is in Southern California, kind of the Irvine area, he spent 15 years with Pacific Investment Management Company, also known as PIMCO, working closely with such notable investors as Bill Gross, Paul McCauley, and Muhammad A. El-Aran. His career at PIMCO spans several assignments, most recently serving as the Executive Vice President of Account Management, covering a range of family offices and institutional clients, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, David Young. Hey, David, how you doing?
Great. How are you, Brett? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing fine. I'm excited to have you on the show as well. Hey, would you give our listeners just a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Happy to. So, myself, I'm sort of an investment geek, I must admit. I spent my entire career, other than a brief stint right after college, at a defense contracting company. This is back in sort of mid '80s. Spent my entire career really in the investment management, financial services industry. Firms like Smith, Barney, Harris, and Upham. When there was a firm of that name, they've all since been bought and merged and renamed. And then sort of fast forward to the last. The more recent times, I got an MBA in there at the University of California at Irvine. Went to work at PIMCO, which is this gigantic investment management firm. Really learned the craft there, and then saw an opportunity to step off, if you will, with some other of my colleagues who I enjoyed working with, and really undertake this pursuit of rediscovering our passion for the science and art, and it is both, of managing money. I'm a trained economist. But saw an application for that in the investment management industry. We used to like to say that my first love is economics. My wife wouldn't probably want to hear that, but the only problem with that is you either have to write some theory and then you have to be dead for 100 years or so to really be known, or not a good prospect, or you have to find a way to apply that in financial services. So anyway, long story short, myself and my team are investment managers. I've been doing it for 30 years now, and our focus is on working with financial advisors, and in turn their clients, typically private clients, some endowments, foundations, and pension funds as well. I'm trying to bring institutional quality asset management to parts of the market that maybe didn't have easy access to it before, or wouldn't have access through these very, very large firms that we all know about.
Yeah, so well said, and thanks for sharing that. And I look forward to diving into the science and art of financial advising, right? And also diving into just where your pulse is on the marketplace right now, and where you think
Sure.
it's going, post election. And that's going to be in the full interview. But for this kind of teaser interview, we're just going to touch on something that's one of the main themes for our show is capital gains tax solutions. And so, what's the biggest frustration maybe that you or client has had over your career when it comes to capital gains tax referral options or lack thereof?
Yeah, I think probably three things come to mind. Number one would be the complexity. I think there's a sense for many people that they'll have to have teams of expensive tax attorneys and CPAs, and it's all very complicated and all very sort of mysterious. So one of the things I like about the Deferred Sales Trust approach is it's simple, so it's demystifying, and actually demystifying. It doesn't have a lot of mystery. Yeah, there's some complications. You need to have professionals. You need to really spend the time and effort. But it's not a trick. It's not magic, actually, and that makes it somehow more accessible, more sensible. I mean, my mom used to say, son, don't ever invest in anything that you don't understand, and she was right. And you can understand the DST. And so I think one frustration solved by DST is the unnecessary complication. Item one. Item two, I think the sense that somehow we talked to a lot of clients, and the first response would be, Oh, I don't have, that kind of money. My house isn't that big. My whatever, whatever the asset is, right? Oh, I'm not in that big boy, pardon the expression, the use of the term boy category, right? I'm just a regular, person, and it's really quite accessible too in terms of size. It doesn't have to be a great big, with lots of zeros behind it. And then I think to the sense that that there are things you can do inside the trust. So now the asset's been sold, assets placed in a trust that will allow you to take a reasonable amount of risk and get a reasonable amount of return, and have high confidence that that whole transaction will perform within some reasonable range. And again, those don't have to be necessarily complicated strategies either. Sometimes simple is better. So three things I've noticed, and three things I think that DST, and then again combined with Anfield, having developed those investment management solutions that make sense in the DST setting, are the right way to go.
I think that's so well said, and I love how you said a reasonable amount of risk and a reasonable amount of return, coupled with the simplicity of what the deferred sales trust is, which is an installment sale, and the funds go into the trust versus going direct to the seller all at once. And it's a simple tax deferral mechanism, right? Now,
Right.
of course, you have professionals like a trustee. That's our role, capital gains tax solutions as a trustee, and then David Young as can manage the funds along with the estate planning team, right? And so there's a team involved, right? And I also think that also brings a level of comfort and a level of value beyond having, like, I call it the dream team, right? Having trying to get the best of everyone to help with the client in the middle who's selling a highly appreciated asset. And so you're not just getting one, you're getting multiple folks that are focused on helping you create and preserve more wealth for the sale of your asset. So very well said. Any thoughts on that before we remind our listeners where they can find you?
No, I think the advantage of the dream team approach, which I like the way you put that, Brett. Thank you for condensing all that down into a nice crisp thought. That's why you're the moderator and I'm the guest. You have that skill. The best part about it is working through a trustee like yourself. You don't have to have your own dedicated dream team. You only use as much of the dream team as you need. So it's kind of like in this modern world of sharing, right? You don't have to have a beautiful, expensive house up by the ski resorts or down by the water. You can go rent one through a VRBO or Airbnb, whatever, for a week at a time. And when you're done, here's the keys. Thank you very much. Sorry about the champagne glass, and so I think that's part of the power of the combination that estate planning team with DST Wealth Management and the trustees bring together. Complete team, best in class, turnkey, but without all those complications and without the great big price tag.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's the key to make it also a reasonable amount of fees, right, associated with the value we're bringing from the tax deferral. And with that being said, we're going to dive into so much more in the full interview. But for David, for those who want to maybe reach out to you and connect with you right now, what would be the best place for them to find you?
Well, let's see. A website is Anfield. That's Anfield, like the place in England, if you're familiar with England. Anfield Capital LLC.com. That's the website. You can just call the office, 949-891-06. I guess I would call 949-891-0600, 0600. Susie will pick up. She's lovely. And she will answer any questions you have. And if I'm available, I'll jump on the phone too.
Beautiful. And for our listeners for listening, if you have anything that's highly appreciated, you're thinking about selling, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, schedule your one-on-one consultation. And then the next step would be to look at how and where the funds can be managed. And then we can schedule that consultation with David as well and see how that whole dream team can fit for you for your next deferred sales trust. Again, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. With that, everyone, thanks so much for listening to the show. Look for the full episode to drop. And we're going to dive into David's story, a little more about what's going on with the current investment world and kind of his take on that, and other just foundational truths that he's learned over the years to helping you create, preserve more wealth. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Please rate, review, and subscribe.